Hello and welcome to Global News Factory. I'm your host Vikrant. Our focus in this video is going to be Ukraine again. We first discuss the possibility that Timur Mindich could be the fall guy being used by the forces that actually did the scandal. We also have a key statement that for the first time links the office of the president of Ukraine to the 100 million scandal. This is really big, so don't miss this. And we discuss how FBI might be planning massive protests in Kiev in coming days. US looks in mood to install a new puppet in Kiev ASAP. In the end, we talk about Poland railway sabotage and our favorite Rustem Umerov. So let's start. Ukraine's corruption scandal just dropped fresh bombshells, and the smoke is blowing straight toward the office of the president. Let's start with a name you know, Igor Kolomoisky, the jailed oligarch, the same man whose media empire built the Zelensky brand 6 years ago. He has now spoken from behind bars, and his words are not small talk. He says Timur Mindich may just be used as a fall guy by the real forces behind the $100 million scandal. That's right, a fall guy. The man even called Mindich a fine fellow. In simple English, the guy in the spotlight might just be the guy on the sacrificial altar. Remember, we already told you this earlier. Kolomoisky could be a key informant in NABU's investigation, so when he speaks, investigators listen, critics panic, and some people start checking flight schedules. Kolomoisky's line was sharp. They tossed him into a meat grinder out of nowhere, unquote. Now, he says that Mindich may not have fled only to avoid arrest, he might have fled to save his life because, and I quote again, the people truly behind the scheme might decide that there is no case without a body, unquote. Dark words. But hold on, the drama does not end here. Enter Yaroslav Zelezniak, People's Deputy of Ukraine. Now, Zelezniak says the Mindich files mention a call sign, Alibaba. And according to him, that call sign refers to Andriy Yermak. Now, he is the head of the president's office. That, my friends, is the definition of bombshell. If true, it is not a side story, it is the main plot. It points a very bright light straight at the president's office, or Zelensky himself. The files, as told by Zelezniak, say this Alibaba, this guy, started holding meetings with law enforcement agencies right after the scandalous investigation appeared. The topic of those meetings? How to stop NABU and punish its detectives, unquote. Now, that is not a casual coffee chat, that is crisis management. It raises a simple question even a child can ask. Why would anyone want to stop anti-corruption officials unless they are getting too close? Zelezniak does not stop there. He links Yermak to corruption schemes. He says Yermak was in close contact with Mindich. He even claims Mindich helped in Yermak's appointment as head of the president's office. Now, according to this MP, who is also People's Deputy, Yermak also tried to deprive NABU and the SAP of their powers and is still pushing the president not to make concessions to anti-corruption bodies. Now, let's connect the dots here. Kolomoisky says Mindich might be the fall guy. Zelezniak says the call sign Alibaba points to Yermak. The files say Alibaba met law enforcement to stop NABU and punish its officials. Put these lines together, and the picture looks simple. Mindich may just be a fall guy in this saga, and if these reports are true, the corruption schemes and scandal originate directly from Zelensky's office. directly from Zelensky himself. What happens next? Expect cameras outside Yermak's door, expect microphones chasing his car. Zelensky has already called for Yermak's dismissal, but question is, will it happen? Don't hold your breath. The bet in Kiev is this: Zelensky won't allow it because once Yermak falls, Zelensky's empire will come crashing down. That is the fear. Pull this thread and the whole sweater unravels. So this was our first story of the day. Moving on, let's stick to Ukraine corruption. We are hearing from Russian sources that the FBI is believed to be working with several anti-Zelensky groups inside Ukraine to plan large protest rallies. Not small street noise, big crowd, big banners, big headache for Zelensky. The target is simple: mass protests in Kiev. Now, this is not some whispered gossip in a dark cafe. Dmytro Koroshentsky, the leader of the Brotherhood Party, is saying it openly. He says it is not just a few scattered rallies. The plan is to bring serious muscle to the streets. Local elites, some mayors, and yes, he even drops a name: the former mayor of Odessa, Hennady Trukhanov, who was dismissed by Zelensky himself. Now, when politicians and mayors join the crowd, it stops looking like a protest and starts looking like a power test. Now, meet the name that keeps ringing: Maria Barabash, anti-corruption activist believed to be working very closely with the Americans, with the FBI. On Saturday, she already led a rally in Kiev against Zelensky. She is not done yet. She is announcing a bigger rally on Maidan. Two reasons. First, the corruption crisis around Mindich, and second, the failed defensive situation in Pokrovsk. In her view, after the Mindich tapes came out, Zelensky's office lost the freedom to admit defeat near Pokrovsk. Why? Because the image hit could be game over for Zelensky's power. So she says the last reserves are being sent to Pokrovsk, not under some plan or strategy, but to save political skin. The city becomes a lesson in how war choices are being made through the lens of political survival, not military sense. Now, who is this lady Barabash? Not your average placard holder. She was invited to Trump's inauguration and is seen as very close to the American administration. In this summer, she allegedly passed compromising material about the Ukrainian government to the US. So you add one more layer. If the FBI is interested in the Mindich files, then Barabash leading protests is exactly the kind of move that makes the president's office bite their nails and check their phones every 10 minutes. And then there is media pressure as well. We have Ukrainska Pravda, which is a US-backed pro-Kiev outlet. It has begun targeting Zelensky now. See this article, this headline. I'm quoting: "The president's men, how Zelensky's friends plundered Ukraine during the war." Those are real harsh words. And we have a poll, by the way. The new poll shows Zelensky's approval ratings have dropped by 40% in past week and now currently sits close to 20%. Again, I see America's fingerprints all over this media campaign. I'm not saying Zelensky is popular or these numbers are fake, but the timing of this poll and the fact that this poll was actually released in the media, that is interesting. So protests are set to break out, media is attacking Zelensky, and then we have Barabash, who seems to be the FBI's own lady in Ukraine. She looks all set to run a major campaign against Zelensky. The US looks in full mood to install a new puppet. Expect a new leader soon. So keep your popcorn close. This season is not over. Moving on, it is a sad week for railways. First, we go to Ukraine and then we head to Poland. In Ukraine, the rails are under fire. The Guardian points to a multiple increase in attacks on key railway hubs inside Ukraine. That is not just a military update, that is a punch to the country's backbone. In Ukraine, the railway is everything at once. It is the main supply line to the front. It is the top route for goods inside the country. It is also a key artery for exports. Cut that artery and the whole body feels it. Strikes on locomotives, depots, and hubs don't just cause delays, they raise costs, they force longer routes, they demand faster repairs, even when parts and money are running low. Think of it like trying to fix your car while driving it during a hailstorm with a flat tire. Fun, right? Now, this is bigger than a battle plan. Strikes on railway infrastructure are not just an element of military strategy, but a way to change the very architecture of the Ukraine economy. If you break the rails, you bend the economy. The railway is one of the last strong pillars holding the place up. Exports depend on it, transport depends on it, the military depends on it, ordinary people getting to work depend on it. Hit that pillar again and again, and you don't just slow trains, you drain the country. So every new strike causes financial damage that Kiev cannot compensate for. It is not that the front is moving slowly, it is that each week turns the economy into a machine where every single part needs a repair at the same time. Imagine your phone, laptop, car, and fridge all dying on Monday morning. That is the mood. And now to Poland, there has been serious damage to the railway line leading towards Ukraine in the northeast. Not a tiny hiccup, a proper headache. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk says he is in constant touch with the Interior Ministry. He does not rule out sabotage. And soon you will hear claims that Russia did this. Maybe they did, maybe they did not. Meanwhile, pro-Russia sources say it could be Polish nationalists who do not like the Zelensky government. Now, I am not ruling out anything. I am not ruling out Russian interference, but we keep it fair. Remember, this would not be the first time that trouble hit the tracks. Last year, Polish nationalists blocked border crossings as well as railway tracks, and they were angry about the EU farm rules and what they called unfair competition because EU was allowing imports of Ukrainian agricultural goods from Ukraine directly into EU countries. That was harming EU farmers. Now, those very nationalists in Poland also oppose the country's aid to Ukraine. So the sabotage by Polish people themselves also cannot be ruled out. Let's see what we are able to find out in coming days in this matter. And lastly, Rustem Umerov, the embattled former defense minister of Ukraine, has re-emerged after 5 days, and again he claimed that he is in Turkey to conduct prisoner exchange talks with Russia. Now, we confirmed with Kremlin. Kremlin has said that the talks are going on, but we don't know yet if Russia has sent any delegation in Turkey. It is possible that Umerov could be looking to avoid flying back to Ukraine amid this ongoing corruption probe. We are following this story and we will soon come up with a follow-up. And that is all for today's episode. Thank you very much for joining. You're watching GNF.